Welcome to the Dear Doc podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpauir.
Is your resume or job posting just not being seen? You need a better plan. Whether you're looking for a permanent or temporary position or looking to hire, at Cloud Dentistry, we have you covered. We connect practices with verified professionals interested in temp and permanent work. Sign up for your free account in just 2 easy steps. Go to www.clouddentistry.com and start browsing the dental talent in your area today. Hey guys, this is Doc Hoffpauir coming to you from my studio here in Alvin, Texas. Today I am really lucky on this Good Friday to be joined by Don Safferstein, and he works in the Bronx. He's going to talk to us a little bit about his almost 4 decades of service to dentistry and in dentistry. And we're going to talk about a variety of topics, things that he has found a special interest in over the years of his practice, as well as maybe some gems from the other side of 30 whenever it comes to practice and things that maybe you haven't thought of yet. So without further ado, Don, how are you doing today?
Great, Chris. Glad to be part of this program. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So we met through a mutual friend, and that would be Darius, who is one of the owners over at Cloud Dentistry. So guys, if you haven't checked out Cloud Dentistry, do so. It's free, and it's free to get started at least. And you can find employees when you desperately need them, which in these times, I just saw 4 posts this morning about people who are looking for an employee desperately and asking for people's help. So go ahead and check them out. It doesn't cost you anything to see if they're going to work for you. But they were kind enough to make this introduction. And Don's going to talk to us about a few things in his career that may be hard hitting for some of you. And one of those is addiction. So we're going to really dive deep into that. So Don, talk to me about what brought you to dentistry. Are you a heritage kid? Were your parents dentists? Did you have some sort of experience that called you to the profession, or was it kind of like, hey, I'm in college, I got a biology degree. What am I going to do now? So where did your journey start?
Well, when it looked like I wasn't going to play shortstop for the Yankees, I needed something else. And I kind of loved my dentist growing up. I just loved the office. I loved the vibe. When I was going to college, I went to University of Rochester. I was fortunate enough to become aware that they had a dental program there, and I volunteered at the dental program while I was in college. I assisted surgeons and endodontists, and while I was working my way through college, I spent my afternoons, 2-3 afternoons a week at the dental clinic at Eastman College of Dentistry, and I loved it. That's what convinced me that I wanted to apply to dental school. So I kind of had a vague feeling that dentistry might be right, but I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to spend a lot of time with dentists while I was in college. And that cemented it that I liked the profession. I liked what they were doing. I liked the working with patients, working with people. And that's what steered me towards dental school.
Fantastic. So a ways down in your career, you discovered organized dentistry, or you discovered that, if something was going to get done, you probably had to be one of the guys to do it. So talk to me about that journey. How did you discover organized dentistry, and what does that path look like from there?
Well, all my life, I've kind of been a backbencher. I've been a guy who sat in the back of the lecture hall, and I joined the ADA mostly because I wanted to get a break on my disability insurance, a break on malpractice insurance. Back then, they were offering a lot of discounts, so it paid for itself. I wasn't very active probably for my first 30 years in dentistry. When I was an older dentist, a friend of mine became president of the Bronx County, and he said, "Hey, Don, I want you to join a committee. I got to get some new blood on committees." So I said, "Hey, which one requires the least amount of time?" He said, "Chemical dependency. They meet twice a year." So I made my first meeting for the Bronx County for the New York State Chemical Dependency Committee was at a rehab facility in Syracuse, New York. And I met the most amazing group of people there. There were dentists who, many of them were previous addicts, who dedicated their free time in their lives to helping other dentists who struggled with addiction. And I came quickly to realize that people with prescriptive ability have the ability to abuse medications. Many of them became addicts. This is before the current fentanyl epidemic. This is before we saw the numbers rising that are leading to 140,000 deaths a year. We were dealing with old school alcoholics and dentists who were writing prescriptions for painkillers and pocketing a fair amount themselves. I had a classmate who struggled with addiction, and I saw how the advocacy of this group enabled us to help dentists with addiction, help them get healthy, and return to practice, return to productive lives, to the things that they loved about dentistry. And so I became very involved with helping dentists who are addicted, and met a great group of people who are aware that addiction is a serious problem in dentistry. On a nationwide basis, probably 5 to 10% of people tend to be addicts. Dentists have a higher percentage. Private practice, working alone, kind of breeds the ability to abuse drugs. And I just became, that was kind of my introduction to becoming more involved in organized dentistry. It wasn't because I loved the ADA. It wasn't because, I just, enjoyed the group meetings. So this was kind of a back road into it. But once I became involved with that, I've been on that committee for 15 years. I've gone to conferences across the country. I've been involved in interventions for young dentists and their families. And it was just an eye-opening thing. And I appreciate organized dentistry's commitment to working with people who are suffering from addiction.
Don, you make some interesting points there. I'll tell you, I personally know several young dentists, even while we were in school, that were users, if not addicts. But what really surprised me was one of the people I had the most respect for. We weren't close friends, but he was just a stellar guy, amazing person, kind, sympathetic to others, helpful, great clinician, fantastic grades in school, could have done anything that he wanted to. Well, he married another friend of mine, and they ended up practicing together. He lost everything because of addiction. And I never could wrap my mind around someone who had so much going for them, how they could become addicted. But I think in a large way, the drive that drives us as dentists, and the drive that you need, the kind of type A personality and no excuses given kind of personality that you need to be successful getting into school, if not maintaining yourself in school, and in becoming a small business owner in a field like this. I think that maybe there's some overlap there between that and the addictive personality. Can you speak to that, the personality traits that people may have that, lead them toward the path of addiction, and perhaps some anonymous stories of dentists that you've worked with who've overcome addiction and come out on the other side better for it?
Well, I think you're right about the personality trait that makes dentists good is that we are really hard workers. One of the top 3 dentists in my dental school class was an addict. And I would have to say that, we all enjoyed our Friday happy hours, but I saw a lot of people while I was in dental school getting too involved, getting involved with, more than just pot and alcohol, but moving over to cocaine. The unfortunate thing is those kind of habits now will kill you, because back then you didn't have fentanyl cut into these drugs. So it's more important than ever to try to be get things under control when you're young, because drugs that you used to be able to use casually now are killers. When I went to that first meeting in Syracuse, the guy who's the head of our committee in the New York State picked me up at the airport, and it was a little bit shocking. He was a professor of mine in dental school. He was a great guy. He was one of the blue coats in clinic that I thought was a great guy. He was an athlete. He was fun, great personality. And he told me, his story about how basically things spiraled out of control. And nobody seeks help on a good day. You only seek help when you drive your car through your garage into your living room. Addicts are great liars. Their denial is strong. Nobody seeks help. They all say, I got it under control. I got it under control. Usually it's their staff that pushes them. One of the things in dentistry is that a lot of people see you having a problem, but they're dependent on you. Your staff's dependent on you. They don't want to call for help because it means they'll shut the clinic down. They'll lose their job. They'll shut the office down. Your wife, your family, they don't want the embarrassment. Oh, my husband's an addict. My husband had to leave his job, or my wife had to leave her job and seek help, had to go away for 2 months to a facility to get clean. So there's a lot of protection from the people around you, even your staff, your loved ones.
Well, let's call it what it is. It's codependence.
Yes, yeah, and addiction doesn't just affect you; it affects your family. It affects everybody. Many of the people I've met were addicts, had family histories. A parent who was an addict. One story that was pretty enlightening, I picked up at an early meeting, was an oral surgeon was talking about how he fed his Vicodin habit. He basically would drive across the state, stopping in college towns. He'd go to pharmacies and he'd say, I'm taking my son here to interview at Union College, at Rensselaer, at Syracuse. He just had his wisdom teeth taken out. He would drive with his prescription pad, and in every town, he'd pick up 24 Vicodin. And he would just make these trips whenever he ran out, basically putting together a storehouse of hundreds of Vicodin. And then when he ran out, he'd take his prescription pad, make the trip again. This is back before e-prescribing, back before we were, requiring, more stringent means to write for narcotics. But that was just the way one guy fed his habit. He'd hit different pharmacies, a few months later. So that's the kind of extreme that addiction, took a guy who was one of the top surgeons in his town, a pillar of his community, was picking a day where he'd drive from one end of the state to the other, trying to score Vicodin. So, and I've seen people like that go into recovery and become healthy. It doesn't work for everybody. Recovery has a disturbingly low success rate, but you got to keep trying, because it's pretty certain that you're going to end up dead is the only byproduct at the end of this. There are, for people that don't get help, that don't stop abusing, there usually aren't good stories. You end up dead, and so whether it be from doing something stupid or from developing an illness, disease. But basically, I became involved with trying to help people. And I think switching back to the ADA, which funds this program, it's a valuable thing they do. They understand it. They appreciate it. They want to help this become healthy and stay healthy and enjoy their practice.
Sitting here talking about this, I'm wanting to kind of try to put myself in someone's shoes who might be going through this. And the thing I keep coming to is they've got to be worried. I mean, we all worry about the board, right? They've got to be worried on some level that if something comes out and they do go and get help, that the board is going to come down on them. They're going to lose their license. They're going to lose their livelihood. It's kind of a self-perpetuating, kind of a positive feedback kind of a loop, because then that anxiety, that stress, and that worry will feed into the things that cause addiction, or at least that seems to be the case for the people around me who I at least know are addicted. So talk to me a little bit about that and what the actual process would look like. Let's say there's a dentist out there who's listening to this podcast and they have a pill problem, or they've got a drinking problem, which is, I think, kind of the socially acceptable version of addiction these days. That, and I guess marijuana, I don't know. But let's say they have that issue. They're afraid to get help because they're afraid that the board is going to take their license or sanction them or whatever. Talk to us about what the process actually looks like. And is that a true thing? Is the board going to come down on you, or is the board really in a position where they're going to say, hey, we want to get you help. We want you to be healthy out there and not injuring patients?
Well, a lot depends on the state. And every state has different laws. I mean, if you do harm a patient, if you do, are arrested, then you lose your license. If you voluntarily seek help in New York State, you can surrender your license while you receive treatment, and then get your license back. You can. I believe it's called the Practitioner Protection Program. I'm just drawing a bit of a blank on this, but if you seek help before you run afoul of the law, if you voluntarily seek treatment, you will not lose the ability to practice dentistry. So you can basically seek treatment, and then the program monitors your health. We assign sponsors that check in on you, that talk to you, and sometimes it involves testing. But basically, if you surrender your license for a period of time and seek treatment, you can restore fully to the practice of dentistry. So, in New York State, we have a non-punitive hotline where you can call the hotline, which goes to Albany, to the people that run the program, and you can start seeking help while you're practicing. Bottom line always has to be to protect the public. We're not trying to shield people from their problem while they're practicing. We want to get people into therapy and into programs, and make it so that they can voluntarily do that and return to dental practice. But they do have to enter these program. They do have to enter treatment, and they do have to be clean to return to practice of dentistry. And we even have a fund here to help people pay for, named after one of the founders of our group, the Tom Sullivan Fund, that helps people, and this includes dental students, by the way, are eligible for this program to go into treatment programs. Because usually when you're at the point where you need to go into a treatment program, you're usually not flush with funds. You've usually run things, you're at the bottom of the barrel. So we have a program here to help people even finance going into these programs. But the idea is to get into treatment before you run afoul of the licensing boards and the law.
Yeah, I talked earlier about this friend of mine. What ended up happening with him is he hit rock bottom. We were out at a get together. It was actually a continuing education event. And I found him by himself, just sobbing uncontrollably. I was just in shock. I thought, maybe someone had died or something. And I sit down and I say, obviously I'm not gonna say his name. Say, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? And his response to me was, I hate myself. I hate what I do. I just want to die. And it really hit me hard. I mean, I think we've all gone through those emotional roller coasters where just the right combination of events puts us in a place of vulnerability, particularly, we're in a profession where you have to be not just someone who's exceedingly type A whenever it comes to attaining any kind of achievement. We also have to be intelligent. We also have to actually care. And then you're in a profession where you've got people who tell you they hate you on a daily basis. You're dealing with employment issues. I think we've all been at a really low spot, but this guy was at a lower spot than I've ever seen anyone in my life. And I talked to him and I said, hey, what's going on? He filled me on what had been happening. And he asked me for help. He just came out and he said, I can't do it myself. Help me. And so I put him into, and his fear was that he was going to lose his license and his practice. So I put him in the touch with the right people. The next day when he sobered up, he calls me up and asked me to please not talk to anyone. And so I went back to the people who I was friends with, who were high up in the dental society and on the board and things. And I said, look, he's asked me to withdraw this plea for help. And so they did that. They said, okay, nothing official has happened. At this point it's hearsay. He ended up losing everything. He lost his wife. He lost his practice. He lost everything. Yeah. And it seems to me that there was just a moment of inflection in his life where it could have gone either way. So guys, if you're out there and you've gotten to the point where you realize you need help, take the help that's given. Hey folks, before we get into today's program, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about one of our sponsors, DocSites. DocSites provides affordable and effective websites for dentists with no long-term contracts, transparent pricing, and great customer service starting at only $59 per month. They also provide optional online marketing packages to help you increase your online visibility. For special offers, including up to 25% off of your website setup, text podcast to 818-489-9823. Again, that's 818-489-9823. Now, this is a limited time offer, so text now and lock in your savings. Or you can visit docsites.com/TBOD for more information. That would be my message. Don, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, dentistry is not unique. We're sort of at a societal turning point here, where you just read the papers every day. That addiction is rising. Young people are struggling. Rates of depression are extremely high. And I don't think that addiction exists on its own. I think it's and one of the problems we've had as a nation in dealing with it is that there's always a mental health component with addiction. A lot of addicts are also suffering from depression, other factors, and so it's you talk about the stresses of dentistry. It's one of the most stressful professions. Is if you do endo, you got to be perfect to the last millimeter. And that's the way it is in dentistry. There's a lot of pressures. There's a lot of people depending on you. A lot of it has to. I think as professionals, we have to learn to deal with the stress. We need to know how to structure our day and structure our lives so we give ourselves downtime so that we have more time for family, more time for friends. It's a whole big picture. You've got to. I would just encourage anybody that's in dentistry to take lots of 3-day weekends. Enjoy life, enjoy your family. Don't become so ingrained in the stresses of the practice, and then self-medicate. These stresses aren't unique to dentistry. These are stresses of life, and we all have to learn to deal with them and realize that addiction is not. When I was in dental school, to us, the addicts that when I worked in an ER at night in my residency, the addicts were the scumballs of society. We would come in, they'd come in for drugs, put them back out there. And then the realization I had is that, a lot of addiction's a disease. It's a disease. It's a disease that functions at the level of the thalamus. There's a physiology of it. And basically, we need to treat addiction with compassion, try to help people from the addiction standpoint, from the mental health standpoint, try to help people find help. There's a lot of things out there now besides the traditional 12-step program. New trend now is medicated assisted treatment, where there are medications that help you with the cravings, and you can continue to live a productive life. I would say in New York State, we've got a hotline. Other states, I think this is pretty universal in the United States now in dentistry, is that we have programs to help dentists that are dealing. They're non-punitive, and I encourage anybody that's struggling to seek help early before it gets too late.
Absolutely. I'm gonna finish with two questions, and we're gonna talk a little bit about today's sponsor. My first question is, what is your proudest moment in your years of service to the ADA on this board? What did you get accomplished, or what's an example of someone you helped where years later you took a moment and thought, wow, I had a hand in that?
Well, you talk about the chemical dependency or just general?
Oh, both in general.
Oh, no. I mean, one of the things that I'm proud of is that, as I told you, I came late to the ADA, came late to the service. We have I'll talk about the chemical dependency, because we have an educator that we invite to come speak to our local group. Every couple of years I have this gentleman come. His name's Dennis Boland. He's a wonderful educator. He's a great public speaker. And when we invited him to a Bronx County dental meeting, after the meeting, everybody got up and left, and one guy stayed behind, spoke to the Dr. Boland. And then about 6 months later, when I met Dennis at another meeting, he said, he met this guy, and he says, I've spoken to him almost every day for the last 6 months. And years later, same thing. He's been giving him support and helping him for years now. And I kind of look at that and say, well, that's one person. If one person came to the meeting and actually took the bite and sought help and was looking for somebody to speak to, he found it at one of our local meetings that I put together and invited him there too. Is that a saved life, a safe practice, a safe family? Maybe. But if we had not set up the program, had not invited a lecturer to come and speak about dependency, this guy obviously was looking for help. He stayed late. He waited till everybody left the room and then went up to him and started a conversation. So, I appreciate that. You got to put stuff out there. You got to have stuff on the shelf, or people aren't going to have the opportunity to see it. So that's what I see in what I'm doing for the ADA, is putting the stuff out there, because I know there's people that want to look at it. They want to talk about it, but they're embarrassed to. So we got to keep putting it out there.
So our profession is known not only for having a high rate of dependency, but also a high rate of suicide. And to me, the two are inextricably connected. Can you speak to the percentage between those two things, or roughly on that subject?
I don't have numbers. As far as suicide goes, I just anecdotally, again, we all have tales of people, whether it be accidental overdoses or. So I really don't have numbers on dentistry, and I know that these are societal numbers also, that I know the rate of suicide is up, and I know that the rate of dependency is way up. You know, it all comes back to the current crisis we're in, and that is that there, because dentists are high functioning, a lot of dentists, I think, have been high functioning alcoholics, high functioning addicts. One of the things that I know from New York State, from a drug group that I'm involved in, is that the biggest increase in death right now in New York State is cocaine use, because there were a lot of high functioning coke users. There were a lot of people out there who were burning the candle at both ends and thought that, yeah, they can, get cocaine and do a little cocaine on the weekend. Only problem now is there's fentanyl in that cocaine and they're dying. So I think that a lot of dentists are, just as we stayed up all night and worked our way through college and dentistry and had the ability to do all-nighters and study for the boards and, just work really hard and partied hard, that same lifestyle now is killing you because of the change of the drug market. And everybody's got to be aware of that there's, and it's not just fentanyl, there's other agents that are being mixed into the drug supply now, and just casual drug use will kill you these days. And so, it's an important time to get your life under control.
Take a moment to use this platform to speak to anyone who's not an ADA member about why they should become one. Why should they spend their hard-earned dollars every year to support an organization that they feel disconnected with, that they feel doesn't support them and is rowing the boat in the wrong direction?
Well, I'll talk about the COVID situation for a bit and how I feel the ADA was a game changer in New York. I look at the ADA a lot as a political lobby. We're a lobby of 160 to 200,000. No, I'm sorry, I'm off on the numbers, but we're basically a extremely large lobby of dentists. I don't know the exact number. In the Bronx, we realized that we're losing membership. A lot of the old timers were retiring, dying off, and we were kind of splintering into sort of a balkanization of dental societies. There was the Dominican Dental Society, there's the Indian Dental Society, there's Orthodox Jewish dental groups, and a lot of groups were splintering off. When COVID happened and the governor of New York shut down dentistry on March 10th, 2020, I was told I could not open the doors of my practice anymore. I'd be violating the law if I did. Well, what got us open on June 1st was our political lobby. It was the strength of our numbers that were able to meet with the governor's council. We had a trustee of the Bronx Dental Society, Amaryllis Jacobo, sat on the governor's board for reopening, sat on the governor's COVID board, and had the political connections to let the New York State know that dentists are experts at infection control. We're not hairdressers. We're not. This is what we do, and we've done better than anybody. I mean, I graduated dental school in the AIDS epidemic and worked in Greenwich Village in the 80s. And so, I mean, if anybody knows how to provide a safe environment for their patients, it's dentists. But the 50-member ethnic group in the Bronx didn't have the ability to get that point across. It was the political lobby of numbers that we had. So I would say for those that aren't members, they're benefiting from the power of the ADA. If they have their own requests, things that they want to see, whether it be the ability to move from state to state more easily, the ability to fight insurance companies, make your voice known, become part of it, fight for it, but they'll have a much stronger voice arguing within a large number that has political power. Standing alone, you've got very little, but I'd have to say you're benefiting from what the paying members are doing. We try to make it easy for young dentists to join. I believe it's free for a year, free for 2 years, then 50%. We try to slow walk it because we know everybody's got debts. We know it's expensive and it's hard to buy into. But I think that it's worthwhile because I see my friends that are doctors really struggling with fighting Washington, fighting insurance companies. It's made their practice life miserable. I consider dentistry a great profession. I love the independence that I have. I love my ability to practice without the thumb of government on me. And I really consider the efforts of the ADA has made my life much better. It's given me the ability to practice and enjoy practicing for 38 years. And I think that it's having a strong lobby, a strong political lobby that can help keep it that way.
Well,
sorry if I blabbered on a bit.
No. And to your point, during COVID, we had Joe Crowley, we had Jeffrey Cole, we had Chad Gihani, we had Craig Armstrong, all on this podcast, giving us updates as to what was going on in Texas, what was going on nationally, what we could expect. Chad would come on and actually talk about, hey, look, we went down and we saw the president. This is what he had to say. This is our feeling of where policy is going to go, because it was like the Great Wasteland. No one knew what was happening. Nothing like this had ever happened before. And the ADA certainly provided a whole lot of assistance in making sure that dentists did get back to work sooner rather than later. And I remember initially my wife, who is a veterinarian, was considered to be, indispensable, and she could work full time doing whatever she wanted. And I had to not work at all. So I know personally, the ADA definitely helped me there because I don't know, I might have become addicted from depression if I hadn't been able to work.
Well, we all drank too much wine.
Oh, no kidding.
3 months. But, just getting, I wanted to Chad Kahani's horn a little bit, because not only did he pull the strings in Washington, but I remember seeing him on Good Morning America. He made the round of the news programs, and as an advocate for dentistry, I mean, on an individual level, people in America were saying, I know they're saying it's safe to go back to the dental office, but I'm not sure, And it was part of it was confidence building among the public, letting the public know that this is what dentists are doing. This is what dentists have been doing for years that you don't even realize they're doing to provide a safe environment for their patients. This is how they're controlling their water supply, their air supply, how they sterilize, and and I thought Chad was magnificent in making the rounds of public programs, and we all benefited from that. That people in the public realized that, okay, your dentist has got this. It's safe to go back to the office. We all benefited from his public relations tour.
I have to say, and again, I'm a little bit biased because I am in Texas, but I have to say, we've got some really great people. I mean, the gentleman I've already mentioned, heck, I call Jeff Cole up every now and then just to shoot the shit. He's just such a fun guy to talk to. But I mean, we've got people like Duco, we've got Craig Armstrong coming up. Rita, just amazing, just powerhouse intellects who truly care about dentistry and the future of dentistry, not just in Texas, but nationally. So I have a hard time selling being a member of the ADA to younger people because they just don't know what we've done. They don't see what happens behind the scenes. But guys, it's important, and you should all join. And if you feel as if the boat is being rowed in the wrong direction, pick up a damn oar.
Yeah, I mean, you can make things, if you want to steer your profession in the way that will make your life better, yeah, you need to man the oar. And you can't do it on your own. You need to do it as a larger group. I agree with you, Chris.
Yeah, it's like, well, I guess that pretty much does it. So,
Yeah.
guys, real quick, we're going to have a real quick word from our sponsor, which for this, did you have something else, Don?
No, I want, before you leave, can I talk about our sponsor a bit for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
It's not just personally. I just want to tell you just my story, which is 38 years in practice. I've had the same front desk person and the same chairside assistant for 38 years. And then it was about 6 months ago, I had the nightmare of my hygienist coming in and saying, I'm leaving. And 3 days a week, crowded schedule. Why was she leaving? Because in this day and age, people are poaching help in dental offices. My office manager, somebody offered her 25 grand more just because help is so hard to find. My hygienist, somebody offered her $15 more an hour, poached her from my office. So after going through that incredible shock and depression of, oh God, this is going to screw things up, I just went to Cloud Dentistry. I paid $10 to be a member. I put an ad in there of what I was looking for, and in 24 hours, I was speaking to 3 candidates directly, not through an employment agency where they would send people to my office. I was talking directly, looking at recommendations, but I was in personal touch, negotiating with hygienists personally. I hired somebody. I didn't have to pay a fee to an employment agency. I'm still paying my fee, my monthly fee to Cloud, because I want to be with them when I have another crisis. But it was an amazing service that put me in touch with people. And another thing I would say to young dentists out there is that you should be on there, because if you're looking to pick up a day somewhere, 2 days somewhere, there are so many offices that are looking to hire GPs, specialists, so not just for office help, front desk assistants and hygienists, but every young dentist should be on this, should have their name on this, because you'll just, people will reach out to you with opportunities. It's just, it's an amazing database, an amazing service, easy to use, easy to navigate. It saved my neck personally.
Yeah. And guys, they're also rolling out some new features that you should be aware of. If an office complains about a hygienist, says they no-showed, that hygienist will now be removed from the system almost immediately. And that hygienist will have to actually appeal to be added back into the system. It's just one of the many ways that Cloud is doing what they said, which is listening to their customers. I urge you to become a member, because to become a member is free. If you want to actually use the service to hire someone, you do have to have a membership, just like Don said. But to check it out and see if it's something that you want to pay for, costs you nothing. And frankly, not having your hygienist, not having your front desk, not having your assistant, not having a doctor to replace you while you're on vacation, that costs you a whole hell of a lot more. Don, thank you for coming on to the show today, sharing with us a little bit about your life in dentistry, the things that you've done, the things that you've seen. If you had a moment to speak to 25,000 dentists in varying areas of their profession, varying ages in dentistry, and you could give them 3 points of wisdom, 3 pearls, what would they be?
Well, I can't tell you how grateful I am for the ability to practice dentistry. I find this to be the most valuable profession in my life. I'll give three things that I think are important. Treat your staff well. Your staff your patients speak to your staff more than they speak to you. When you leave the room, it's your staff that's making the patient comfortable. Front desk, there's nothing better than having a good staff and treat them well, and because it makes your life. First off, I spend a lot more time with my staff than I do my wife. So it's like treat your staff like you want it, like family. Treat your patients well. Get to know your patients. Talk to them. I love dentistry because I love the relationships that I have with my patients. In 38 years, I've got 4-generation families. My patients are family. I'm a fee-for-service dentist, and 75% of my patients have insurance and pay the fee because they like our family that we have in our office. We treat our patients well. We're responsive to them, and they enjoy the family environment. And give back. Third advice is give back to the community. Do some charity work. Take part in programs providing dentistry to the poor and disabled. I'm a big advocate of donated dental services, Dental Lifeline Network. Take a trip to another country, and you'll really appreciate what we have here in America. So treat your staff well, treat your patients well, and give back to the community. You'll enjoy
I love it. Well, Don, thank you so much for joining us here today and giving us the benefit of your years of experience and service. Folks, you have wasted another hour listening to the droning sound of my voice here on the Dear Doc podcast. This is Dr. Christopher Hoffpauir, thanking you for being here to listen to us. Signing off until next time. See you, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc podcast on all major platforms.